This is Ashton Marcus, and I'm on location at International City Theater for the opening of the Heir Apparent.
Hi, my name is Ashton Marcus. I'm with KUCI 88.9 FM Irvine. I'm with
Matt Walker, director of Heir Apparent by David Ives at the International City Theater in Long Beach.
Great. So why did you decide to do this play?
Because they called and said, "Would you like a job?" And I said, "Sure."
Well, yeah, right. Like basically you couldn't find something else to do, right?
This is a great play. It's a farce, a super funny show. I've studied as a Ringling Brothers clown and gone to clown college and done a lot of physical theater, so it was right up my alley.
Yeah. So basically, do you prefer doing classics or you prefer doing do some more contemporary?
You know, classics are great because it's not something you see every day. The costumes, the production values, the music, oftentimes you're able to be transported more often, and I think that's what the beauty of theater is to be taken somewhere outside of ourselves. We have too much contemporary on the 405 trying to get places every day, so if we can go to the theater and be taken out of ourselves, I think that's the goal.
And what do you look for in your casting?
Talent. I mean, people who are gifted in many different facets and disciplines, people who not only can handle classical language like Shakespeare, and since this is written in verse, there's a lot of iambic pentameter to pay attention to, but also actors who are comically gifted, who can handle physical comedy, actors who are good partners, since there's a lot of LOTC that involves partnership there, so you really kind of have to be a quintuple threat. You have to be sort of a singer, actor, dancer, improviser, clown.
I love the casting you did on this one. All the actors were very talented.
We had Michael Donovan casting, sent us a lot of great people, and it was a rigorous audition process, and fortunately we got really lucky. Yeah.
Well, I think you're being a little modest when you say you got lucky.
Well, no, there's so much going on in LA at any given time. Sometimes you don't always get the best turnout for auditions, but International City Theater's been around a long time, and they have a great reputation, so actors really want to work here, so you're fortunate to be able to see some good people.
Great. Okay, so actually, let me tell you a little bit about my show. I have a lot of community theater people who actually listen to my show. So basically, they've been working for a long time. They work for free. They just can't get a break because they don't know where their next step is. Is there any kind of advice you can give them?
Do whatever you can. My dictum has always been say yes to everything and figure out how to work it out. So if you can just stay on the boards constantly and do as much work as you can, whether it's paid or not paid, your experience will grow, your networking will grow, your connections. That's the best way to get out there.
Even if it means being double booked?
Triple booked. Quadruple booked. I'm talking to you right now, but actually a hologram of me is appearing somewhere else. I can be in two places at once.
Okay, thank you very much for being on the show.
Thank you. Nice to meet you.
Hi, I'm Ashton Marcus with KUCI 88.9 FM in Irvine, and I'm with
Wallace Bruce. I'm a New York actor, and I came out to Los Angeles about 6 years ago, and I've been having a blast ever since. I thought I'd be in, film if I could, but it looks as though the theater is calling me back again. I played Erast. Erast is madly in love with the character Isabel, and all he can think about is love. There's nothing on his brain but his love for Isabel, but the only way he can win his love is if he has money. Isabel's mother has sworn that the only person that'll ever marry her daughter is a person that has plenty of money, and Erast has none. Only his uncle has money, and so the whole plot is Erast trying to write himself into his uncle's will.
So, how was the play?
How was it tonight?
For you guys.
It was lovely. It was a great opening. Ashton, that's your name, right?
Ashton Marcus.
Ashton Marcus. Well, thank you so much for coming. Yeah, it was. What did you think of the play?
Actually, I liked it a lot, but then I kind of like the classics myself.
Oh, good. Yeah, I do too. I love period pieces. Anytime I get to wear a nice costume, that's really fun.
Yeah, because it's kind of a bit of escapism, and also usually with the classics, you can't really go wrong because it's been around for like 100 years.
Yeah, they've had 100 years to perfect it, and it's just our job as actors and directors to hope not to mess it up. 100 years of perfection. We just hope we can put something towards it. What did you think? For me, it would not have been the same without the cast that we had and the director. The director immediately, I can safely say we all fell in love with him immediately, and he understands comedy, he understands physicality, he understands people really well. And so I think for me the most exciting thing was working with this particular ensemble because they're all so good. I mean, I don't know what you thought, but for me personally, I thought they were all amazing. And it was a treat for me to work with every one of them.
I sensed it too because I saw you guys were feeding off each other. When someone would give you a line, you'd come back. It wasn't like you were shouting at each other or trying to.
Yeah, it was just back and forth, that ping pong, that tennis, that elastic band that stretched between the characters. But I would be remiss if I didn't mention the director Matt Walker. I don't know if you know any of his other work with the Troubadour Theatre Company. Well, if you don't, you must look it up immediately. It's a fantastic company, and they do a lot of great work.
Thank you very much for being on the show.
Yeah, thank you. Have a good night.
Yeah. Well, hi, my name is Jean-Francois. I'm with KUCI 88.9 FM in Irvine, and I'm with you.
Matt Henderson. I grew up in Los Angeles. My father was a television writer. I went east to school and came back for grad school, and then I've lived in San Diego, the Bay Area. I'm married to an English teacher, and we have one daughter. I played Gérant, the uncle, the old rich miserly uncle. He's an old rich man. And everybody's waiting for him to die because everybody wants his money, and he refuses to die. In fact, he's trying to marry the pretty young woman. He's determined to live as long as he possibly can, and at the end he sort of undergoes a kind of a Scrooge-like sort of transformation. He becomes all generous and whatnot after having a near-death experience.
So what do you think of the play?
I think that David Ives, who has made a sort of a thing of adapting 17th century French comedy, has done a lovely, lovely job. I think the original play by, I forgot the name of the playwright, but there's Molière and there's everybody else, and this guy is very much everybody else. I think the original was probably, I don't know, I've never read it, probably not a terrific play, but Ives' adaptation is it's a lot of fun. Yeah.
Yeah, it actually reminded me a lot of Molière.
Yeah, well, I don't know if they're absolute contemporaries, but the sort of the standard characters are all there. The young innocent, the crusty old miser, the young but not particularly bright young man, the tricky servants. They're all there.
This is kind of a classical play. Do you prefer the classics when it comes to theater, or you want something more edgy, something more modern?
The classics can be super edgy, depending on who's directing and which ones you're doing. The nice thing about doing the classics is you often know you've got a good script. Whatever, you can be in the world's worst production of Hamlet, but if at least you've got Hamlet going for you. Yeah. I love doing the classics, but that's what I've done more of, so yeah.
I loved your performance there. Thank you very much for being on the show.
My pleasure.
Hi, my name is Ashley Marcus. I'm with KUCI 88.9 FM in Irvine. And you are?
I'm Suzanne Jolie Narbonne. I'm a dancer and actress. I work with the Troubadour Theatre Company. I've done 6 shows there. I work in TV and film, a lot of commercials, music videos. So acting and dancing. Played Isabella, or Isabel. They used 2 names for her. I'm not sure why. I think David Ives wanted her to rhyme sometimes. So Isabel and Isabella. I'm both. Isabella is the young ingenue, as they say in shows, and she's in love with Erast, but they've had to hide their love because Erast doesn't have any money. Isabel doesn't seem to have a dad, so it's her and her mom, Madame Argant, and Isabella cannot marry Erast until he gets an inheritance, and so my character is just in love with Erast and does what it takes to try to get him to marry. It's all motivated by love, and sometimes you make mistakes in love, and she learned that, and they learned that, and there's a happy ending.
Do you have a history in classics, or is it something new to you?
I started as a ballet dancer, so I did a lot of classical works in the ballet world. Romeo and Juliet, Cinderella, Coppelia, and these are all classics in the ballet sense, a lot of acting and a lot of, it's the classical repertoire. So I wanted to make sure that I did my homework, and I've taken a lot of classes in Shakespeare, most recently at A Noise Within, which is a wonderful place to work. So even though my background is not in classical acting, that's what I want to start with. So I'm very happy to be doing something that is not Shakespeare, but similar, with the rhyming couplets and kind of the grander language.
Well, basically the reason I asked is because I couldn't tell, because basically you're actually very good. You held your own with everyone else at that.
Well, thank you very much. It was scary, but it's so nice when someone gives you that chance, because I notice in this town you're either a dancer or an actor, at least for the TV and film world. people don't seem to think you can do both. So I was very thrilled and so grateful for the opportunity to portray just an actor, not a dancer. And it was nice because I got to bring some of my dancing into it. You know, I did some work with The Fan, which is from Don Quixote, which is another classical ballet. So I really appreciate that. It was nice to get that shot. I want to do more of it.
Actually, I'm told that a lot of acting is movement.
Absolutely. And I think that's one thing I have in my favor is that in ballet you don't get to talk. So all of your acting and work has to come from within and from your face and from your body. You can't just say something. You have to really feel it and move everything to show the audience sadness or happiness or fear or disappointment or all those emotions. So I do believe acting it's not just the voice, it's the whole body. Absolutely.
So why did you transition from dance into acting?
You know, it's funny. In 7th grade, I was accepted into the drama club, but I couldn't do it because I was dancing so much. Ballet was my first love, and what I always loved most about ballet was the acting. It wasn't the technique or the fouettes or the extensions, which are important, but they're not everything. We don't have dancers like Margot Fonteyn anymore, who was an actress. She was an actress. We don't have that anymore. So even though I loved ballet, it was limiting. And when I kind of started to taper off from that career, I was hired at the LA Philharmonic to do a show where I did ballet and I did Shakespeare. And so that gave me a taste of, okay, I want to use my voice. I've always loved Shakespeare, just reading it. So that was really the impetus that changed my direction. And ballet will always be a part of who I am, but I don't want it to be the only thing of who I am.
I'm told that LA is not really that much of a ballet town.
Yes, there's Los Angeles Ballet, which is very wonderful dancers and direction and wonderful names in the ballet world, but it's not a town that supports it, and I'm not sure why. I think it's just because there's so much TV and film, that there's so many things competing for our attention that, you know, it's not in New York, it's not San Francisco, it's not Chicago and Miami that have, you know, strong ballet companies. So, no, absolutely, I agree.
Yeah. Well, maybe you've paved a new way. You can be a ballet dancer, and also you can be an actor too.
I hope so. You know, they always say you put things in your back pocket. You take your skills and you keep them there until you need them, and that was so gratifying about this show, that with the big hoop skirts and the period costumes, it lent itself to a type of gracefulness and walking and spinning that I feel like I got to use my bag of tricks. I got to take out my card in my back pocket, so I'm very grateful.
Okay, well, I loved your performance. I loved your movement, obviously, and you're very gracious and very lovely.
Thank you very much. It's a pleasure.
All right, thank you very much for being on the show.
Of course. Bye.
Hi, my name is Ashton Marcus. I'm with KUCI 88.9 FM in Irvine, and I'm with...
Hi, Adam J. Smith. Born in the lovely suburb of Chicago some X number of years ago. Started off doing theater at a high school that was famed for being the Ferris Bueller's Day Off high school. That's its claim to fame, where I started doing theater, yeah. And then, did some stuff in between, like, went to college, lived in New York for a few years, went to grad school, and been living here in LA for a while. I played Chris Spann, who is the servant to Arrest, and Chris Spann, in turn, plays about 3 or 4 other people during the course of the show, and I put on lots of costumes and sweat a lot. Well, the Chris Spann character, he's the servant to Arrest, and he wants to marry his love, who is the Lisette, who is the servant to Geronte, the old miser. And Chris Spann is kind of the classic Arlecchino, sort of Figaro-type character who, he's the plotter and the schemer.
Well, I loved your performance.
Oh, thank you very much. I appreciate it.
You must have found this extremely challenging, because you played a woman, you played an old man. You're basically the lead, because you were in almost every single scene.
Yeah, although you said a woman, and a lot of people, some people might take some issue with calling her a woman, seeing as I had probably more chest hair than most men do. But yeah, it's an exhausting role. I mean, in a great way. It's great fun to get to do a role like that, where you are literally running around like a madman for much of the play, and running around backstage trying to just get your costume on, lipstick on in time while you hear your cue being said, for your entrance. But yeah, it's a really fun role and a challenging role.
Do you fancy yourself a classical actor, or you prefer something more modern?
I've kind of run the gamut. I just finished doing a show that was about as contemporary as can be, but I do love the classics as well, and particularly Shakespeare is close to my heart. But I just like good material.
Yeah, actually, let me tell you a little bit about my show. A lot of community theater actors listen to my show. Any kind of advice you can give them?
Well, depends what they want to give their dream up for. I'm just kidding. Any kind of advice. I'd say the biggest bit of advice I'd say is as long as it continues to give you joy, that's when you should continue to do it. If it no longer gives you joy, then there's nothing wrong with reinventing yourself, because no matter what stage of your career you're at, it is always a hard and challenging road, and you got to do it because your heart's in it and because it's something that gives you joy to do when you're out there in front of an audience.
Thank you very much for being on the show.
No, thank you. Thanks for having me.
Hi, my name is Ashton Marcus. I'm with KUCI 88.9 FM in Irvine, and I'm with
Rebecca Spencer. I moved to California here about 3 years ago. I've been in Phantom of the Opera in Germany and in the 25th anniversary world tour, as well as Las Vegas. And I'm a Bistro Award winner for several of my recordings. And this is my debut at ICT in a real play. I played Madame Argante. Madame Argante has a daughter, beautiful daughter, who is in love with the nephew of Monsieur Gérant. My husband died. My dowry has gone under. So there's an urgency to get my daughter married into wealth. And in the meantime, Gérant has really pulled the wool over all of our eyes to basically teach everybody that there is a difference between balance of greed and love. And that is basically what happens at the end. Everybody gets married, everybody gets money, but not without big lessons that have been taught throughout the entire show.
So are you a classically trained actress?
I'm a classically trained singer and actress, but I'm a singer first, and that's what the bulk of my career resume is all musical theater on Broadway and also jazz and art songs as well in terms of my concert repertoire. Yeah.
Well, first of all, because when I first saw you, I thought that's got to be a Shakespearean actress because you did it so well. The voice, the movement.
Oh well, the style helps. Stylistically, this period reads to me because if I was to compare it to Gilbert and Sullivan, which are the light comic operettas, they have political satire wrapped in them. They have all of the rhyming couplets in those. So it's not too far away from doing opera or comic opera. But I am trained as an actress as well. But this period seems to sit well because a lot of my resume is all in this era. It seems from Jekyll and Hyde to Phantom to this. So yeah.
Yeah. So basically, do you find yourself a musician who got into acting, or were you an actor who actually got into music?
I think I'm an interpreter of words, and somehow I got pushed from my theater department at Ithaca College, and I was majoring in theater to learn to read music and to really enhance those tools. So when I got out, I could actually use language, whether it was going to be for speaking or language where I could actually be singing. The text would be set to music, and I sang Phantom of the Opera in German, and so I was trained classically. So I have the nuance for languages as well, French and German in particular.
Yeah. I'm fascinated to speak to someone like you because, as an actor, sometimes they really don't have to be trained in music, and music is so incredibly difficult to learn. If you're not that musical.
Yeah, music it's a whole nother mindset. It's somewhat mathematical to understand arrangements and composition and all of the underscoring that happens, whether it's musical theater or opera. But then once you learn those tools, it's also about the ability to sing and to develop your range and to find repertoire that is appropriate to, particularly as you age as well, going from a coloratura to probably a mezzo in terms of repertoire. But I still have a large range, and I teach at AMDA. I teach in the music faculty at AMDA, the Los Angeles division, and I teach a song styles course from 1875 to 1967. So that's been very inspirational as well to pass on the fact that it's about the lyric-driven arrangements.
Yeah, I speak to a lot of people who are musical in musical theater. A lot of the great singers or the great musicians, they say they started when they were like 5.
Yeah, I think that I was just singing when I was younger. I mean, in terms of the classical training, it came into play perhaps probably in high school when the teachers really started to see that there was something happening. And I had a very active music program I was raised in Northeast Philadelphia, in Levittown, Pennsylvania, and at that time they had a very good active drama and musical theater department, and then also choirs. And so the teachers started to encourage the fact that perhaps I should take voice lessons, and then I got more and more interested, and you just start to, I guess that was my calling. I had very supportive parents too.
Yeah, because I'm kind of thinking that maybe if you start at 5, maybe you're kind of just born different from everyone else. You're just born with some kind of gift.
I think instrumentalists may develop differently than vocalists do. There are many vocalists that play piano as their first, as another instrument as well, which I do a little bit of that as well. But I think that instrumentalists may start earlier. In terms of singers, the vocal capacity really, unless there's some of these younger folks that are freaks, freaks of genius nature that have come out and they've been exposed. But I think that the voice develops differently than someone that can understand what it means to play an instrument as well. Just a different maturity, I think. Yeah.
Okay. Well, I loved your performance.
Oh well, thank you so much. It's nice to talk with you. Okay. I'm really happy to be living in California now after 28 years in New York. So, yeah.
Well, thank you very much for being on the show.
Thank you very much. Thank you. Have a good night too. Thank you.
Hi, my name is Ashton Marcus. I'm with KUCI 88.9 FM in Irvine, and I'm with
Adam Von Allman. I'm living out here in Los Angeles, been out here for about 3 years. Done mostly musical theater, but in TV, film, whatever is coming my way. And just been out here for 3 years now, living in Sherman Oaks area. Yeah. I played Scruple. Scruple is the lawyer coming to sign up Gerant's will. So he's a very a man that is very put together, kind of, but he's very short. So I do the whole role on my knees, and it is quite a feat. It was a little interesting during the rehearsal process, but we found a lot of good characterizations for the physicality of Scruple, and he's really fun to play. I love playing it every night. I just get out there and play every night.
Actually, I liked your character a lot. I really liked it.
Good. I'm glad because it was definitely. It's a very rewarding character because I don't have to do much. I get out there, the whole physicality of the character, and people just automatically fall in love with it, or just like it's very funny. I love it.
Well, actually, more than that, first of all, your voice was very good because when you're talking, you're really like 2 feet tall and you're rhyming. It's hard not to think of this as being Dr. Seuss, right? But you actually played it off really well. You didn't sound like a gnome.
Well, that's good. Mission accomplished. Definitely.
Yeah. Well, it's also these character pieces, which basically it's like you're a very minor character. Uh-huh. You were very memorable, and you actually left an impression that basically you added a lot to the play.
Well, good. I'm glad. Like I said, mission accomplished. Because I mean he is kind of vital. I mean he's the one getting the will all together, like I said, and it just adds another. Because I don't know if you noticed, but like from the beginning of the play, it's just a gradual crescendo. More crazy stuff happens. Act 2, another crazy character that's on his knees comes up. It's just like a constant crescendo to the big, at the end where it's just hilarity. So, I mean, I just love it.
Okay. Well, I loved your performance.
Well, thank you, sir.
Right. Thank you very much for being on the show.
Thank you.
Okay. Hi, my name is Ashton Marcus. I'm with KUCI 88.9 FM in Irvine, and I'm with...
Oh, I'm Paige Lindsay White. Hello. I went to UCLA. I got my master's at UCLA in acting. The last couple of years, I've done a few shows with Boston Court up in Pasadena. I just closed Pygmalion with the Pasadena Playhouse, and this is the third time I've been at ICT. I played Lisette. She's the saucy maid, the standard Columbina from Commedia. Yeah, the saucy maid, the one that always has the side cracks, lower class. Yeah.
Actually, I like these French farces, this kind of like from Moliere, because it actually has very strong female characters for their servants.
Oh, definitely. They really have a point of view, and they're always being able to observe the absurdity that's happening around them and be able to check into the audience and go, you know how crazy this is.
Yeah, because again, in the old days, you didn't have women talk like that. This is actually a good role model back then.
I agree.
So, are you a person? Are you classically trained actor? Do you do a lot of Shakespeare?
I've done some Shakespeare. I did Shakespeare up in Pasadena at Boston Court. I played 5 characters in a modern adaptation of Richard II, and I've taught Shakespeare, and I've been trained in it. I don't have a lot of training with rhyming couplets. It's a much different beast, but it's a fun challenge.
I was very impressed with how well the cast gelled. It's like, you weren't kind of shouting over each other, just trying to wake up the audience and all. You actually, good interplay, and again, good metering, timing for everyone and all that. So how did that happen? How did you gel so well?
God, that's just luck of working with some really lovely, open people. I just came into the cast last week because the girl that was originally in my part, she got a television gig, and so they asked if I would do it, and I said yes. So I've had a week of rehearsal, and they were very warm and welcoming and let me play, and so I just jumped in with them.
You did very well considering you've only been rehearsing for a week.
Well, they had 2 weeks more than I did, but I mean, considering the closeness of the cast in the 3 short weeks, because it's a lot of text and a lot of physicality for such a short rehearsal time, and so everybody in there is just very up to the challenge. They're very welcoming. They're very willing to go.
Yeah, well, again, I liked the performance a lot. Again, I liked because your movement was almost like you were all dancing and in step and all that, so that was very good. The voice pitch was great, even with everyone else. The metering was great. So again, the whole cast blended together very well. I was very impressed by that.
Oh, thank goodness. I'm glad that all worked out for you.
Okay, well, thank you very much for being on the show.
Thank you.
The Heir Apparent will be playing at International City Theatre from June 17th to July 12th. For more information, go to www.internationalcitytheatre.org or search for AMB Theatre, that's all one word, AMB Theatre on Facebook.